4:25 in the morning, the 10th of May 1940. The fortress they call Impregnable is asleep. 750 men under meters of concrete. 9 silent gliders are about to land on its roof. 78 men. The guns will be dead in half an hour. Hidden inside this attack is the trick that will doom France. Belgium had built its war plan out of water. The Albert Canal, a moat of canal water running from Antwerp to Liège, was blasted through the hills and opened 9 months before the invasion. And where it cut through Mount St. Peter, the walls of the cutting fell 60 metres sheer. On top of that cliff they built the fort, Eben-Emael. 2 120mm guns, 16 75s in steel cupolas and concrete casemates. The northern guns zeroed on 3 bridges. An army coming out of Germany through Maastricht had to cross those 3 bridges under those guns. On paper, 1,200 men. That morning, about 750 were actually inside. Gunners, many of them who have never fired a live round, living in galleries so dusty and mouldy that throat infections came with the posting. It was called Impregnable. Some called it the largest fort in the world. That label was about to start working for the other side. Here was Germany's problem. The plan for the West needed speed in the north. Maastricht, then the bridges, then the Belgian plain. But the bridges were wired for demolition, and the fort's guns covered every crossing. A conventional assault meant days. The bridges would be rubble in the river by the end of day 1. In October 1939, Hitler summoned General Kurt Student, the man building Germany's airborne forces, and put a question to him that no staff colleague would have asked. Could a force land on top of the fort? Not near it, on it. The unit formed in November under Hetman Walter Koch. Then it vanished. Total male censorship, no leave. 3 men were sentenced to death, never carried out, for slipping out for a coffee. They rehearsed on captured Czech fortifications in uniform stripped of every insignia, carrying concrete blocks fitted with handles, because what the blocks stood for was the biggest secret in the Reich. 2 weapons made the impossible plausible, and neither had ever been used in war. First was the glider, engineless, plywood and fabric, released high and far away, arriving in complete silence. No engine noise on the running means no warning. The second was the hollow charge, explosive, mounded around a hollow dome, focusing the blast into a single point. It didn't have to break the turret open, it punched a jet of metal and over pressure straight through the 25 centimeters of steel and killed the crew on the other side. 50-kilo charges, carried by 2 men. The landing was timed for roughly 30 minutes before sunrise, the earliest grey light a glider pilot could land in. At 3:30 that morning, the tow planes lifted off from Cologne, and almost immediately, the plan lost its commander. Oberich Rudolf Litzing, tow rope snapped. His glider went down in a meadow inside Germany, nowhere near the fort. Commander of the assault of the fort now belonged to a senior NCO, Helmut Wenzel. 4:15, release. 7,000 feet over German border country near Aachen. Then 30 kilometers of silence. 4:25, 9 gliders skid onto the grass roof of the fort. One of them stopping on top of an anti-aircraft machine gun pit. The defenders were looking at the sky, at aircraft with no engines, and firing almost nothing. The whole plateau had 4 anti-aircraft machine guns. Squads ran to their objectives. Charges went into cupolas. Within 10 minutes, 9 of the fort's fighting positions were under attack or already wrecked. At 4:40, 15 minutes after the landing, Wenzel clicked his radio and sent one line. Objective reached. everything in order, and the fort's own tricks worked. 2 of his squads spent an hour and a half destroying dummy cupolas decoy was built to draw fire away from the real guns. Nearly a fifth of the assault force wasted on just fakes. It didn't matter. The guns that covered the bridges were dead before the sun was properly up, while the German army was only just crossing the frontier. The fort was only half the plan. 3 more glider groups hit the 3 bridges. They came down beside the pillboxes and tore the demolition wiring out before the order to fire could arrive. Both bridges captured intact. At Cannes, a navigation error put the group down 15 minutes late, and the Belgians blew the bridge into the canal. Cannes is the control experiment. Same plan, same troops, same charges. 15 minutes late. And the operation's heaviest losses to show for it. That was the entire margin that this thing lived inside. Under the fort, some 700 men were discovering what the new war felt like. Concussion through concrete, dust, steel doors. And an enemy they never once saw. Their commander later wrote that his men felt like prisoners of their own fort. Counterattacks went in, gunners sent up as infantry dug in against sappers, and failed. In the darkness, German engineers crossed the canal, and by morning the fort was surrounded. Just before noon on the 11th of May, a Belgian soldier and a captain walked out under a white flag. At 12:27, Major Jotrand surrendered Fort Eben-Emael. The guns had died in half an hour. The fort held on for over 30. The ledger, 6 German dead and about 20 wounded, against 23 Belgian dead and about 60 wounded. And the strongest fort Belgium had, gone. But be careful with the legend. The fort didn't fall to genius alone. It fell because it was undermanned, undertrained, air defended by 4 machine guns, and never once fought as a ground to be defended, only as a gun platform to be worked. The Germans brought 2 new weapons, the defenders brought last war's assumptions. It's the assumptions that lost. Berlin announced only a new method of attack. No gliders, no charges. Into that silence poured rumours, paralysing gas. An American magazine even printed that German endive farmers had tunnelled explosives under the fort. The secret held, but the deeper trick was strategic. The Allies had always planned to rush into Belgium the moment Germany moved, and the fall of the fort confirmed everything they believed. The main blow is in the north, so they went in deeper and faster. And while every eye was on the Albert Canal, the real weight of the German army was threading the forest roads of the Ardennes, further south, heading for the Channel coast. And for a trap we've already told the story of, Dunkirk. 78 men, 9 gliders, half an hour of demolition, and the door to France swung open. If you like stories other channels miss, subscribe, and I'll see you next week.